What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll be taking a look at the Corsair Performance Series 3500X ARGB. I hope you guys enjoy. I picked this case up from Amazon for around $93. It has a 2-year warranty and is part of Corsair's new Performance Series cases, so I'm pretty excited to try it out. Taking a look at the box, it has some basic information about this case and is well packaged. Taking it out was simple, and the case was in great condition, which I was hoping it was because, well, I bought it brand new. Taking it out of its doggy bag, first impressions are good. I mean, it looks great. No scratches or dents in the chassis, and the glass has a protective film on both sides. I like the new pattern they have. It's definitely different from the normal triangles or dots they do. The case stands at 506mm tall, is 240mm wide, and is 460mm long. It's pretty small. I honestly thought it was going to be bigger, wink wink. I mean, it is mid-tower, so what was I expecting? The case's feet also lift it a bit off the floor, so, I mean, there isn't going to be much air restriction here. Removing the right glass panel, I saw a black cord. That's when I realized the accessory box came loose somehow. This cord was supposed to hold it down. Speaking of accessory box, the contents were 3 extra motherboard standoffs, 12 long fan screws, 20 self-tapping fan screws, 20 motherboard and hard disk drive screws, 12 SSD screws, a front panel adapter which I'll get back to later, and 12 cable ties. Now I was trying to figure out where the manual for this case was, and that's when I realized that it's actually on the box of a form of a QR code. The manual is really informational. It shows you how to install parts into the case, and it shows a bunch of different information. Good job, Corsair. I went ahead and removed the rest of the panels and took a look at the filters. The case has 3 filters: a power supply cage filter that spans the length of the case, a left side panel filter, and a top panel filter. The front panel, or more like top panel, has 2 USB 3.2 Generation 1 ports, 1 USB 3.2 Generation 2 Type-C ports, an HD audio port, and a power and reset button. They're at the top of the case for easy access. The case is built really well. It's made of steel and isn't as floppy as most others that I've built with, but it's definitely still a little floppy. The left side panel is very spacious. It has about 45mm of cable routing space with plenty of routes you can take for cable management. The front panel cables are neatly packed. Something that I noticed though is the front panel power, reset, and LED connector looks like one giant USB 2.0 connector. That's where that adapter from earlier would come in, just in case your motherboard connections are different. Anyways, there's an accessory plate where you could place an IQ Link system hub. And there's also dedicated reverse motherboard connection spaces. An issue that I have though is the lack of grommets, anywhere. I'd rather not have my cables rub up on metal. The power supply space has anti-vibration pads and can support power supplies up to 180mm long. Some eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed the lack of any hard drive cages. That's because you're able to use the accessory bracket to hold down 2 3.5-inch drives on the front and 2 2.5-inch drives on the back. So I guess Corsair improvised here? But what if you have the IQ Link Hub or Commander Core XT here? You won't be able to install any of the 3.5-inch drives on the front. So I feel like Corsair should have found a way to stick a cage in here somewhere. Because, well, not everybody uses M.2 drives, you know? There's also a space with a removable IQ Link badge that allows you to route IQ Link cables to IQ Link devices externally that might be on your desk. The 3500X ARGB variant has 3 pre-installed fans. They're Corsair's RS120 ARGB fans. They have 8 individually addressable ARGB LEDs and use magnetic dome bearings. They use Corsair's AirGuide tech and spin up to 2100 RPM, pushing a max CFM of 72.8. They're PWM controlled and they use a standard 3-pin ARGB connector and a 4-pin PWM connector. You're able to daisy chain them and the cables are short because of it. Luckily, Corsair included extensions for the master fan that you're going to be using. And these fans work and perform great. My only issue is the lack of anti-vibration pads. They just have these shiny plastic bits. I'll go more in depth with them in the future video, but for now they'll be here for demonstration. I really don't like where the fan mounts are though. They're off-center and the fans don't look good where they are because of it. The 3500X has pre-installed motherboard standoffs, and they included 3 more just in case your motherboard has an extra post hole, or if you want to vertically mount your GPU. The case can support from mini ITX up to ATX motherboard, and there's 7 PCIe expansion slots. The 3500X doesn't have a dedicated vertical GPU mount. However, if you were to remove 3 screws holding the PCIe bracket, You could flip the bracket and vertically mount your GPU. There's holes on the power supply cage where you would put the standoffs for your riser cable. The case supports up to 10 120mm fans, 2 of which you can install in the power supply cage, and 5 140mm fans. You're also able to have up to a 360mm radiator on the top and up to a 360mm radiator on the side, and a 120mm radiator on the rear. The max GPU length that you could stick in this case is 410mm, and the max CPU cooler height is 170mm. Well, it's time to start getting to building. But before I get to it, I would like to give a big thank you to all of my subscribers and how much they support me. This channel would not exist without each and every one of you being here and supporting me. I appreciate it, and I will try to continue making content for you guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. A simple click on a button will support me greatly, and you could always unsubscribe later if you change your mind. Building in this case was lots of fun. I love how user-friendly it was and how spacious it was. I have really large hands, and even building in my 5000T was a pain. The cable management space helped out a lot. I've been building computers for a while, and my cable management skills are still a bit rusty, so having all that space made things a lot easier. I also love how out of sight most cables are in this case. There's a dedicated space on the bottom here where you would route the cables on the bottom fans out of the way. It makes it look cleaner. Something that I noticed mid-build though is the amount of space for RGB LED strips here. I feel like an RGB fanatic would have a field day here. I also feel like this case would be great for any new computer builder, and I believe anybody would have fun using this case. So the parts that I'm using in this case is an Ares Game AKG 850, an Asus Strix B550 ATX motherboard, a Ryzen 7 5700X, an AMD Radeon RX 6750 XT reference, 32GB of Dominator Platinum, a Corsair H150i RGB Pro XT, 7 Corsair LL120 RGB fans, and the included RS120 ARGB fans on the bottom. I'm also using a Commander Core XT with an RGB hub to control the fans. The finished product looks amazing. Peeling the protective film off the glass was really satisfying. The fans look amazing in this case. I love how the tempered glass dims the lights just enough. The panoramic view also looks amazing, and the airflow potential in this case is pretty fun to think about. An issue that I have though is how close the bottom fans are to the power supply cage. There isn't enough room for the fans to suck in air due to how close the power supply is to the top of the cage. And again, the fans being off center on the side fan cage. The fans don't look great because of it. Oh, and this noise. Testing out the thermals against my 5000T, we can see on the graph that it's about the same in a few applications. To keep the comparison fair, I use the same cooler, fans, thermal paste, and I removed the bottom fans on the 3500X. I stressed the computers for about an hour on each application, and I kept the ambient temperature the same, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So, what's the verdict? Well, overall for the price I picked it up for, I like it. It's a great case, and it was lots of fun to build with. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. Minus 3 points for no grommets, off-center side fan mount, and no dedicated drive cages. But apart from that, I have no more complaints. It's an all-around good case for the value. The fans it came with are great for performance, and if you enjoy Corsair parts and the Corsair ecosystem, I recommend it. You'd be getting a great deal. Anyways, that'll have to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and tell me your thoughts about this case. I'll see you guys in the next one.